there, folks. Tanya Maurer here. If you didn't know already, I'm on a team that is walking to end Alzheimer's. We have just under 25 days left until our walk, which is on October 28th. I hope you'll support us and just click on the link below on this Facebook page to help donate and support. And if you're interested in hearing one part of my family's story, keep on listening. This is entitled A Simple Phone Call. I remember when my dad would call. At times it would seem right out of the blue. For him it was deliberate, just like you hadn't called from home in quite some time. It was his way of checking in and letting me know that he loved me. I miss those phone calls. Over the years I became to rely on them. And Dad delivered. He would call right when I needed to hear his voice. A fatherly voice. A voice of reassurance. A voice of reason, and perhaps, in some instances, unreasonable. After Dad passed, it was my sister and I who would call my mom, just to check in, see how she was doing, ask for advice. We would worry if we didn't reach her for a couple days, the feeling of relief that we would have when she would call us back. The phone is a lifeline. It is an invisible tether to ones that we love. Now that the phone is mostly a computer, it is used for so much more than a simple phone call, where people talk to one another. It's a distraction at times. When the phone rings these days, the first thing you think of is it's got to be a scammer, should I even pick it up, rather than a loved one calling just to check in. When Mom moved in next door, the phone seemed to become a staple yet again. Even though we were neighbors, we still connected almost daily on the phone. It was nice. It was nice to have her close. Tonight, Mom called. It was like old times, because she just wanted to check in, and I believe to hear a familiar voice, a calming voice. I'm grateful for being that person for Mom. And I'm sure my sister feels the same way when Mom calls her. I remember when I had COVID and couldn't visit her. We were talking on the phone. She was in her apartment. She couldn't find her purse, a common occurrence. So we played hide and seek on the phone, COVID style. I would suggest a spot for Mom to look for her purse. She would look and call and report back as to whether or not what she found. And then we would rinse and repeat until ultimately she found her purse. Woohoo! I know when I call Mom now, I need to call 3 times. Once so Mom can hear the phone, a second time so Mom can find her phone, and a third time so Mom can answer her phone. It's a process. Gone are the days of a simple phone call. Now it's an extra special phone call because Mom's voice is on the other end of that cyber line. And for that, I'm very grateful. My mom was diagnosed with Alzheimer's back in 2018. Sorry, I was a little off there. I hope you'll support our walk. Thank you.
In 2017, when Ed was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, I felt like I was drowning. Then the River East newspaper came, and there was an article in the paper about a new support group being formed by the Alzheimer's Association, and they'd be at the Hebron Fair the following weekend. There was my lifeline. I went to the fair, and I met Pam Atwood for the first time. She's a leader in the field, and she lives right here in town, and she was volunteering as a facilitator for this new support group. They'd be meeting every month at the log cabin on Main Street, and she strongly encouraged me to go. Sharing my feelings in a group of strangers is well outside my comfort zone, but so is Alzheimer's. So I went, and 6 years later, I'm still going to these meetings. We came together as strangers, and we became a family. We shared what we feared, what we needed to face, our guilt, our grief, our successes, our failures. Some of us were deer in the headlights, new to this diagnosis. Some had been caregivers for years and came to share what they had learned and encourage the new ones. Without this group, I think I would not have had the strength and the confidence to be the caregiver that I was for Ed. The other thing that they did was a second monthly meeting, which was just a social group that we could bring our loved one to. It was a time for fellowship and fun in a caring, structured environment with no judgment. Pam organized these activities and the Alzheimer's Association funded them. We went to museums, restaurants, movies, we had art classes. It was a time when we could socialize with our new friends and create memories that we otherwise would not have had. Caregiving 24/7 can be a very isolating and lonely time. This was one day a month when we could get out and be with our friends, with our loved one, and create some new wonderful memories that I treasure. When I walk on October 28th for the Alzheimer's Association, it will be an appreciation for all that they've done for my family and other families like ours. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Tanya Maurer. I wanted to share part of our journey with Alzheimer's. As you know or may not know, my mom has Alzheimer's, and it's a terminal disease. She was diagnosed about 6 to 7 years ago. Mom's cognitive function has for sure declined. I've tried to match her needs and her behaviors up with the different stages of Alzheimer's. Now, Alzheimer's is a type of dementia, so think of dementia and cancer, kind of, and then each one of those categories you have different types. So for dementia, Alzheimer's is only one type of dementia. There are 4 stages of Alzheimer's according to the Alzheimer's Association, and they always manifests very differently in every individual. So if you've seen one person with Alzheimer's, you really have only seen one person with Alzheimer's. So part of our journey, starting back on a sunny Sunday this past June, I had the aha moment that Mom has actually shifted into the mid-stage of stage 3, which is the moderate category of Alzheimer's. On that particular Sunday morning, I called the memory care unit where she resides, just to remind them that I would be picking Mom up at 9 a.m. so that she would have to have her breakfast before all her companions, and then that also gives us about 30 minutes to deal with any kinds of curveballs. Earlier in the morning, I did take a peek at the camera, and just a side note here, definitely use technology to your advantage. It does come in handy. On the camera, I did note that Mom was actually wearing a light sundress, which likely wouldn't bode too well in the sanctuary because we would have windows open and fans going. So ultimately, it would be a little drafty. So I called Mom, and she answered on the second call, not the second ring, but the second call, and that's a whole different essay at some point in the future that I'll share with you. We were lucky that she did answer the phone. I let her know that we were going to church, and yes, it was Sunday. I also noted that she was in the sundress and she should probably think about putting pants on instead and maybe a shirt. She promised me she would. We said our goodbyes and we hung up. As I was let into the memory care wing by an aide, there was Mom sitting in the chair by the door with her purse on her lap, all ready to go. She stood up, and I nearly laughed because ultimately she was actually wearing her sundress for sure and with her pants underneath. So she did follow through. We got partway there. So this was definitely a decision time. Do I let things go as is and we go to church the way she was dressed, or do we actually go back and change? So I did pause for a moment there and reminisced about a time when we went out to a family dinner with my dad, my mom, my sister, my husband, and I. And my dad looked at me and he said, "Is that what you're going to wear?" In that kind of voice that really translated to, "There's no way you're getting out of the house with that outfit. Go back to your room and change." So with this image in my head, I held my hand out to my mom. She slipped her hand right into mine. We walked to her apartment, and I picked out a shirt. We both agreed it was pretty, and then the next part was really a gut wrench. So I handed her the shirt, and then she looked at me and basically said, "Do I put this on over my dress?" It doesn't sound like much, but it definitely does kick you in the gut when things like that happen. At that particular point, I took a pause, and then I said, "No, let's take the dress off and let's put the shirt on." So that's exactly what we did. I helped her out of her sundress, into the shirt, on with a jacket, put on her name tag, gave her the purse, and we're off to church. There'll be more moments like this, I'm sure. We can prepare for them, but when they hit hard, like knock your socks off hard. Mom is still mom, regardless of her outfit. Next time, I think I'll leave things as is, but we'll see. Maybe not. I'm not sure, but we'll see how that goes. This is only one part of our Alzheimer's journey. Thank you for listening. Take care.
My name is Riley, and this is my grandpa. My grandma has Alzheimer's disease. We are raising money for the Alzheimer's Association so they can give this to doctors so that they can make medicine for people who have this disease. We're going to have a bake sale that is going to have cookies, cupcakes, and chocolate-covered pretzels. And we're going to have keychains. And there's going to be an entertainment, My Pal Cal. See you at the bake sale. Bye, Riley.